So all of my houseplants are pretty common. There's only like one or two that are considered like more uncommon houseplants. But I do definitely have like a couple favorites when it comes to just the generic common houseplant. The first one is pretty obvious if you've seen any of my other videos, but it is the Heartleaf philodendron. I feel like I rave about these a lot, and I have like 5 or so different kinds in my apartment. But let me just grab one of my favorites right now to show you what I'm talking about. So this isn't my first ever Heartleaf philodendron, but it's my first ever plain Heartleaf philodendron. I believe the first one that I got was a Brazil philodendron, which is technically a heartleaf, but you know, just more unique, I guess. But this is one that I got when it was basically like really bare, essentially. So there was no vines, it wasn't vining at all, and it was just like sitting, you know, it was really pretty still. And I think I have a picture actually, I'll pop it right here if I do. But I had this plant when I first moved into my new apartment, and now, I mean, it's completely trailed down, and I've only been here for like 6 or 7 months, 7 or 8 months, something like that. But it has already grown so much, and it just keeps growing, like it never stops. And it's just one of those ones that's super low maintenance, and it's really easy to like fill it up and make it really full and have it look like just like a jungle in your house. I have several of this kind. I have one right here behind me, and that one, I mean, is even bigger than this one in terms of like the leaves and everything, but this one's just trailing a bit more. But yeah, I mean, it always looks super full, and if it gets leggy, you can just cut it back and it propagates super easily. And yeah, it's just a really good alternative to the regular like pothos, which I still love pothos, but the heartleaf is just, I mean, it's in the name, it's a heartleaf. It just looks really pretty. And I feel like it's a bit more like feminine. It's like pothos, it's like the feminine cousin to pothos really, because the heartleaf just makes it look a bit more like girly and that sort of stuff, which I mean, is the vibe that I go for in mine, but I also have pothos because it just is also a nice plant. But if I had to choose one or the other, I would definitely go with the Heartleaf philodendron. And this is one that doesn't actually take that much light. So it's just like, it kind of just takes whatever you throw at them. Like I said, it's similar to pothos in that way. It's not as evident for this one when you have to water it. For this one, I go more so for like the feel of the leaves. Like if they're really flimsy and stuff, I know if, like when they feel like they need to be watered. So I can tell based on that. Versus pothos, you can tell just by looking at it because the leaves literally like wilt over, and then you know that it needs to be watered. But yeah, other than that, it really doesn't fuss around with any other like specific treatment really. The next one that I didn't really understand the hype about when I first saw it, and it's on like nearly every single common houseplant list, was the African violet, just because I never really liked the flowering plants all that much, just because when the emphasis was on the flower, I was just like, oh, it's okay, like it's not ugly or anything, and I didn't dislike it. I was just more so drawn to like the big leaves on the plant, and that was the selling point of the plant for me. But I just got this tiny little African violet last week, and I really like it. I think it's really cute, so it's like one of my favorites right now. I've been really liking textured leaves lately, and these leaves are very, very textured. They're super fuzzy, and yeah, the flowers are just, they're really nice. I had one that was already bloomed when I got it, so it's already like starting to die off. Also just with like the change of environment and stuff, I think that's how it works. But these ones I think are really easy care as well. I mean, so far it's been super easy care, and I know that you're supposed to have them in like bright light, but not directly bright light. And then from what I was reading as well when I was researching how to take care of the plant, they bloom, they're more likely to bloom when they're in little like root bound conditions, so you don't want to repot them straight away or anything like that, which is fine because I like the little look of this one. And African violets have so many different like varieties and colorways. If you want to call them colorways, we're gonna get all fancy and stuff, but this one is a variegated leaf one, obviously, and they also, like, these leaves are a lot lighter than African violets usually are. African violets are usually like a bit darker leaf color, and they have a bunch of different bloom colors as well. I've seen pink, purple, all that sort of stuff, and mine is kind of a mix between that pinky kind of purple color. But yeah, it's kind of like proved its point to me why it's such a common houseplant that people love. The next one is another one of my most frequent purchases, and that is the lemon lime maranta. Mine is just in this IKEA pot right here, and it's so pretty. I love the leaves on this one just because they've got that dark green as well as that neon green, which are two of my favorite like colors for leaves. You know, there's obviously like that in between green that's like just a regular kind of green, but I love like the dark forest green on these as well as the neon. I just think it's such a cool contrast. And I really like Marantas in like the whole prayer plant kind of type category where they open and close with the sun and everything. I think it's just super fun, and it's something that's just like when your plant's active all day and stuff, it's just kind of fun to watch. And this one grows really quickly. I mean, we already have a new leaf over here, and I just got this like a couple weeks ago, maybe only a week ago, I'm not quite sure anymore. But yeah, I mean, obviously this one does take higher humidity, so it is a bit needier on the plant list of like common house plants. And this one's also a bit harder to tell if it needs water just because the leaves do move. So if it looks droopy, it could just be that they're really open because it's a bright, like sunny day and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I just usually wait until it's completely dry, and I go around and test my plants periodically to see how their soil is doing anyway. So I just usually can tell. But if you're someone that like forgets to water their plants, I would set reminders to check this one periodically, just so you don't underwater them on accident, because that could definitely happen. And since this one is one that likes humidity, and although it doesn't like its soil to be like, you know, super wet all the time, it's going to be a bit more prone to reacting when you don't water it on time, or when you like wait a long time before watering it. One of my common houseplants that I feel like doesn't get enough love on my channel is my SCINDAPSUS exotica, because I don't know, I feel like we all just focus on like the Trebbii and like, you know, a bunch of other SCINDAPSUS varieties, when this one's right here and it's perfectly fine, and it's one of the best ones as well. It's always got these big massive leaves that it's growing, and it's got the thickest leaves, and it's such a cool color as well. And yeah, it's just such a low maintenance plant for me, and it's another one of those where it's really easy to tell when it needs to be watered. For anybody that doesn't know, when the plant's leaves kind of look like this, just like all curled and stuff on their own, when you don't have to like, you know, go and do that yourself, that's when it needs to be watered, because they will literally curl, not completely curl, but they will start to like look curled in a bit when it needs more water. And yeah, it's just such a good plant, and it's really growing quite quickly for me right now that it's like summer months and everything. I think I've been getting like a new leaf every 2 weeks or so, which is a lot for this plant. I do know though, if you are fertilizing this plant, make sure you use like a really gentle fertilizer, just because SCINDAPSUS don't really seem to like fertilizer all that much compared to some other plants. Like their leaves kind of don't react super well to it. So if you've been considering using your strongest fertilizer on your SCINDAPSUS, probably don't do that, because it's not very good for them. But I mean, that's just a totally separate topic, and we can talk for hours about that. But yeah, this is just one that's really good, and it's quite low light tolerant as well. I have mine in a brighter spot just because most of my plants are in a brighter spot. But this one is also one that you can just keep in low light, and he'll still grow, but just like a lot slower for you. And I know I said at the beginning of the video that I prefer HEARTLEAF philodendron to pothos just because it's got a more feminine look to it and all that sort of stuff. But I did have to include my golden pothos on this list. And it's mostly because of the ease of this plant and just how long you can have him and just how much you can go through, and he'll still like be totally fine and come out the other end like and still grow a ton. And this one has grown a lot in the past couple months for me. I have started fertilizing it since the summer months came, and I don't know exactly if the new growth is due to that, but it's definitely helped, I think. But I chopped this one up not too long ago to fill out the top of the pot because it was just quite bare at the top. And it still is. I still feel like I need to put more in there so it's got more vines coming down and everything. But this is such a good plant, and I just, yeah, he started finally taking off because he just hadn't been for such a long time. And I got this entire plant is from 3 original leaf like cuttings that I got from a friend a long time ago. So he originally had only 3 leaves, and now he's like this big long plant. So I think that's why he's like probably always going to be in my top favorite plants, because he's just come through so much, you know? It's like, I'm not in a sappy way at all or anything like that. But when you watch a plant grow basically from like the very start, it is going to have like a bit of a more special place in your collection just because you literally raised that plant. So yeah, that's this plant for me, and he's getting a lot longer and not leggy anymore. Because when I chopped him, it was because he was getting very, very leggy. And I think that was because of the shock of the change in environment that he had and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like I said with the other plants, like this one does show you when it needs to be watered. Like the leaves will wilt downwards and like it will look kind of like it's dying, but it just needs a good drink of water. And then this one I also have sitting in like a bright spot. So it's getting bright light, getting watered regularly. This one I find doesn't need as much water as some of my other plants, but of course it depends on your like where you're putting him and like your environment and all that sort of stuff. But He's just such a good one because he will grow for basically anybody in basically any conditions. If you do kill one, don't feel bad because it happens and it was probably not you, it was probably the environment or whatever. But yeah, he has just been such a good plant and I've really grown to love him. So those are all my favorite common houseplants right now. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that some of these plants are also your favorites, just so I don't feel as bad for like these common ones being my favorites, because I feel like some of these are considered like overrated and just a bit too commonplace and all that sort of stuff. So I would love to hear your favorite common houseplants though, and which ones I should check out, because I still don't have a lot of the common ones that everybody else has. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for plenty more content. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.